Have you ever opened the fridge and just stared like the food was supposed to introduce itself? Or reread the same text 5 times and still didn't absorb a single word? Yeah, if you're laughing because you've lived that, you're not alone. There's an invisible bill that comes due after every decision, every deep conversation, every time you didn't say that thing that you really wanted to say out loud. And most of us are paying that bill every day without even knowing what it's called.
Every lesson is a lyric in the universal song. Oh, the lessons of the journey, I'll weave them in my song.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Lessons of the Journey. Coach Nicole here with Coach Jen. Today we're talking about what happens when a very human brain is asked to perform at machine speed. You know that feeling when you're not physically exhausted, but mentally you're just done? Like your brain is waving a tiny little white flag. I would even say a big white flag.
Sometimes.
Science actually has language for that. It's called neural depletion. And today we're naming it because you can't heal what you don't acknowledge. Welcome to the Neural Load series, episode number 1. The real reason your brain feels tapped out.
Oh, it's not just me, is what you're telling me.
Thank goodness.
I had never heard this term before, and I love naming things. So what is it? Neural depletion is what happens when your brain systems that handle focus, decisions, emotional control, it runs low on its available energy. Your prefrontal cortex, which is the adult in the room, part of the brain, manages planning, restraint, and social behavior. Well, research shows it's metabolically expensive. It literally burns more fuel than other regions when you're making choices or regulating feelings. So every email, don't say that, every attempt to stay patient, my whole life, drains the tank. But unlike a phone, you can't fast charge your nervous system. It requires recovery. Recovery requires time, safety, and stillness. When those are missing, performance drops. You snap over those small things. You can't concentrate. You feel present in your body, but absent in your soul. And that's not laziness. It's neurobiology.
Oof. I'm relating to this on such a high level. Yeah, the adult in the room. My child wants to come out and tell you what's what. I'm always restraining back. I didn't know it took that much energy.
Even my face. Oh, shoot, my face is saying it, though.
Picture face. And this is where cognitive load theory helps us. Your brain can only hold so many pieces of information at once. Working memory is tiny, not like a countertop. Modern life keeps piling groceries on that counter and acting shocked when things fall onto the floor. Self-control uses the same system as decision-making. That's why after a long day of being the adult in the room, I love that term, we reach for the cookies or the doom scroll. The circuit is tired. Neural depletion is simply what happens when demand exceeds recovery for too long.
Depletion is a slow creep. We said yes to everything, the projects, the favors, the opportunities. We keep thinking that willpower is just infinite. Then there's the invisible labor, schedules, meals, emotions, the dentist, the dog, the feelings, all of the feelings. Constant context switching. Neuroscience shows task switching carries a hidden tax. The brain has to reorient every time, and that costs glucose and attention. So 1 minute you're in a meeting, next you're answering your kid, then you're planning dinner while pretending to listen to their day. Your brain is doing CrossFit. So add emotional regulation, managing your feelings and everyone else's, and that bill just keeps growing.
And to that point, when we think we are multitasking, we're task switching. We're never actually multitasking. I've never heard that term either, task switching. That's so great because that's what your brain's doing. So we think, oh, I'm so good, I can multitask. Well, we all know now you can't multitask. You're task switching. And look what that's doing to you. Burnout. So we also have to talk about the nervous system. Chronic stress keeps the HPA axis, which is your threat system, partially activated.
We are being
Ouch.
chased by a tiger.
Ouch. That means cortisol and adrenaline are humming in the background all day. That is not good. I did not know this. Trauma does this even louder. The brain scans for danger, which uses enormous energy before you've answered a single email. Add identity load, code switching, microaggressions, and some people pay extra just to walk through ordinary rooms. Ouch. So depletion isn't weakness, it's physiology meeting impossible expectations. The bill just keeps.
You're at the restaurant, you're like, one of everything, please.
Man, I just had all of it. I was like, dang.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I got chills when you said this. Trauma does this even louder when your brain is just scanning. I remember that happening in grief. Like, oh, what do I need to be aware of right now? Whew.
Yeah. And how tired you are during grief.
Oh, yeah.
And how much it takes from you.
When we're talking big G, little g, like regular life is kind of little g sometimes.
Seriously. I was just having this conversation with my husband. He just had a minor surgery on his eyes for cataracts. He's like, why am I so tired? I said, you think you're fine because it was a small thing. So he's kind of like, it was no big deal, but then he's exhausted. And I go, your body is in recovery from the physical as well. More neural depletion. Oh, okay.
I hear ya.
We're just draining all over the place. And then we're being to ourselves, how?
Yeah.
Well, why am I tired? I shouldn't be tired. I should be able to finish my entire to-do list of 35 things.
Listen to us judge ourselves regularly. We're so good at it. And even in my 44 years, the world changed, but we as humans did not. Think about this. Again, in my lifetime, work used to end. Phones stayed home. Boredom existed. Now we are employees, parents, therapists. Before you open your eyes, we are burnt out. And this isn't shit they went over in school. Human needs rhythm, effort, rest, connection. And we replaced rhythm with grind. You should be able to do it all. Your nervous system didn't sign that contract. It's trying to keep up with expectation. When your brain taps out at 3 p.m., it's not rebellion, it's wisdom. We didn't get weaker. The demands got louder.
Isn't that wild? Effort, rest, connection. And think about the balance. Okay, you need as much rest and connection as you do effort. I would say the majority of people are probably function at 80% effort and 5% rest and 15% connection, if you count social media as connection. I don't know if it's the same as full connection. You know, that would be interesting to find out. When you're talking about connection that you need for neural recovery, the value of the connection.
See, when I think connection, I think, you need that 30-second hug for all of the chemistry to be like, ooh, yeah, this is what this is supposed to be like.
And I think you need to go out with your adult friend.
Oh my gosh, yes. Use adult words and have adult conversation.
And then you can be the adult in the room. We have a theme going on here. And by the way, neuroscience backs this up. Attention is a limited resource. Studies show frequent interruptions can reduce effective IQ temporarily more than missing a night of sleep.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I bet EQ is temporarily reduced as well, because when you're barely trying to survive, are you really able to have that emotional availability?
I think we've had a podcast on that before.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm sure it highly affects your EQ. But that's interesting that it can reduce it as much as missing a night of sleep. Not a bad night of sleep, missing an entire 8 hours or whatever you need.
And I know I'm useless if I don't get a good night's sleep. Ooh, I'm feeling this.
We're on board with that. Yet we built a culture of constant pings and called it productivity. Now, that's an interesting thing because I've mentioned this before. I have turned every ping off in my world. My phone never on, no volume, no nothing. You have to keep it on probably because you have kids at school. So you have to have that ability to be pinged.
But when all of my kids are with me, I could forget my phone and be like, oh, whoops.
I love it.
I had to get there on purpose. I had to actively choose this. This is where I want my attention to be. And that's a value that we've created.
Yes.
So if it doesn't fit in the funnel of that value, and guess what? My phone does not anymore. I'm not in sales. I am coaching. I work with folks and I don't take it home with me. And that was on purpose. But a lot of people haven't gone there yet.
And I would even argue, if you are in sales, why can't you not have your phone with you for 10 minutes? If you're a brain surgeon and there's an operation going on, we give you a pass. Everyone else, you got no passes. Nobody's going to die. Unless you have a true emergency, you can take a break.
That is the unwinding you and I both do with salespeople.
Big time. I love the story. There was a guy who on the weekends, he would take his phone and he would give it to his assistant, and his assistant would change his password. And then he put his phone in the trunk for the weekend. He said, that's the only way I could get time with my kids.
You know, set yourself up for success, whatever you got to do.
This is great. How many times have you walked to your car? Well, maybe you don't do this, Jen, which is awesome, but I've done this. I go to my car and I go, I don't have my phone. And then I think, why do I need my phone? If I need it, then okay. But if I don't, just go do your thing. We functioned without phones for a long time,
Right?
let me tell you.
Yeah.
That's the environment we're in. We live in an attention economy, and your attention is now a commodity. So every notification forces task switching, which spikes cognitive costs and stress hormones. Designers talk openly about capturing eyeballs, not protecting brains. That is so true. Depletion isn't accidental, it's profitable.
Ding, ding.
Your calm doesn't make money, your scrolling does. We're trying to be mindful inside a casino for the mind.
That's such a good visual because I know how I feel inside of a casino, and it is yucky.
When you're like, what time is it?
Nobody knows. It's so smoky.
You can't see the outside.
No.
There's no windows.
How do I know if I'm experiencing neural depletion? So let's share some real life signs. Please be honest with yourself as we go through these. First, there's decision fatigue. If you find yourself standing in front of your closet, unable to decide what to wear, or staring at a menu for 10 minutes, not able to choose what you want to eat, there's a sign. When simple decisions feel absolutely impossible, your brain is telling you it's tapped out. Second, emotional reactivity. Oh God. You snap at your partner over dishes in the sink. You get irrationally angry when someone asks you a simple question. You cry over something that normally wouldn't bother you. That's depletion. Your emotional regulation tank is empty. Third, there's brain fog. You walk into a room and forget while you're there. It could be hormones too. I do this so often. You read the same paragraph 5 times and still don't know what it says. And usually it's because I have 3 kids in the background. I go, I need to focus. You can't remember words for things you know. If you feel like you're moving through fog, that's your brain saying, I need a break. And fourth, procrastination and avoidance. You know you need to do something, but you just can't. So you scroll instead. You clean instead. You do anything except the thing you need to do. It's not laziness. That is your brain protecting itself from further depletion. And fifth, there are physical symptoms. You can get tension headaches, jaw clenching, shoulder pain, digestive issues. Your body keeps the score, and neural depletion shows up somatically. And finally, there's disconnection. You feel numb. You go through the motions, but you don't feel present. You're with your loved ones, but you're not really there. You're living on autopilot. And that's one of the biggest signs that you're depleted, when you feel disconnected from yourself and the people you care about. Remember, these signs, they're not your enemies. They're messengers. They're trying to tell you something.
These are so true. I'm so depleted after 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock's like my cutoff. Can't use my brain anymore. That we have a joke in our house, and Tim will say, do you want a bubbly? Because I drink the bubblies. He'll go, surprise you? And I'll go, yes. Because he knows I don't even want to think about what kind of bubbly I want.
Yeah.
That's how depleted I feel. This is really powerful. I'm excited to learn more about this. I want to add a few more that I've noticed in myself and others. One is the inability to feel joy. This is definitely something that I've been dealing with. Things that used to light you up just don't anymore. And you're not depressed exactly, but you're not happy or elated about things. You're just kind of existing. There's that flatness. Well, that's depletion. Another one is perfectionism on overdrive. I'll just drop the mic and end the podcast right there. Perfectionism on overdrive. I have no idea what you're talking about. When you're depleted, sometimes you can compensate by trying to control everything even more. No. You become rigid, inflexible, hypercritical of yourself and others. You can't let things be good enough. Things have to be perfect. And that just creates more depletion.
I mean, when you say it out loud, it makes so much sense.
Doesn't it?
But living it is just,
You're like, no, this is like the stabs in the heart here. Everything has to be perfect, and that just creates more depletion. Yes, I see how that's a really gnarly cycle to be in, and I'm getting this really clearly here. Then there's the push crash cycle. You push really hard for a period of time, and then you completely crash. You can't get out of bed, you can't function. You need to binge watch an entire series just to feel something. And then you feel guilty about crashing. So you push hard again. Ooh, that is a vicious cycle.
Man, I lived that cycle for so many years in a past life. It's not even funny.
I don't think I'm the kind of person that takes it to this extreme, but I could see how you think it's just the motion of the ocean, the waves of life, but it's a little more extreme than that. It does become a vicious cycle. Also want to talk about relationship strain. When you're depleted, your relationships suffer. You don't have the bandwidth for deep conversations. You're maybe irritable, you're short with people, you withdraw. You might even pick fights because at least conflict feels like something when you're feeling numb.
Oh, my whole body is tingling right now. I have to say, I have recovered so beautifully from this, but when I tell you this was my past life, holy hell, yes, at least I'm feeling something.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
Kids do it, so, we're just kids in big old bodies here. And here's one that's hard to admit. Resentment. You start resenting people for needing things from you. You resent your kids for asking questions. You resent your partner for wanting connection. You resent your job, your responsibilities, sometimes your whole life. That resentment is a huge red flag that you're operating from depletion.
That's tough.
That's a really hard one to swallow. The last sign I want to mention is the loss of creativity and curiosity. I think this is why I have such a hard time with feeling this way, because curiosity is definitely tied into my core values. And when you're depleted, you can't access your creativity. You can't problem solve. You can't think outside the box. You're just surviving. You're not thriving. And for someone like me, you literally are just surviving. And that's when you know you need to make a change. That's a tough one.
It is. And I feel punched in the face right now. I really do.
We just got beat up a little bit, didn't we?
Yeah. So at least we're naming it. And naming it does something for me. And you and I, Nicole, have talked about this on maybe every episode we have. It's important to name it because now we know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So here's an exercise. Let's take role inventory to bring this home for everyone. If you're able to write in your journal, fantastic. If not, just see what comes to mind and you can do this exercise later. So we're going to list our roles that we play in all of our life. Maybe we're an employee, a parent, a partner, probably a therapist to somebody. We are a chef, an Uber driver, a memory keeper, a dream chaser. List all of the roles that you play out in your life. Those were just to name a few. Now, ask yourself 2 very powerful questions. First, who taught me to do all of this at once? And second, what unwritten rules have I been living by? So here are some examples. Good people don't say no. You learned that from somebody. That's an unwritten rule that you've been living by. Strong people don't need breaks. Have you been telling yourself that lie? Love looks like exhaustion. We inherit our coping styles before we reinvent them to fit ourselves. Somebody taught you these things and then you made it your own. Maybe you watched a mother who never sat down and you learned that love looks like exhaustion. Maybe you saw a dad who powered through everything and learned that rest equals failure. Maybe you grew up hearing, if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. And your nervous system took that as law. Those lessons live in your body long after those voices are gone.
Yikes.
I didn't know this one was going to be so tough, Nicole, but I got goosebumps like 10 times already.
I want to go back to the conversation about naming things because I think there's a powerful lesson in that. I think we talk a lot about naming things and the importance of it. I think what is missed is that often naming things initially stings. Might I say sucks.
Oh, totally.
I mean, I don't want to know, but then I do want to know it because I can't change it and I can't adjust it if I don't know it. So I need to come to a realization with myself in the naming of it. So when we say, oh, we want to name it, but it's also so we can do something about it because it does matter. Look, personal growth hurts. That's the thing they don't tell you. Oh, personal growth. Everyone should grow. Well, guess what? It's painful.
Yes.
This is exactly what we're talking about. But I have to tell you, I grew up in a family where if you wanted something done right, you had to do it yourself. And watching my household that I grew up in have projects halfway done all over the place made me one of these people.
Yeah.
Tim and I were having a conversation the other day and I said, our shower needs to be recocked. Well, guess what Nicole could do and probably better than most people? I could recock it. I do not want to put silicone in my shower and have to take it all out, obviously, because I've been moving it in my calendar for 3 months now and it's never gotten done. So it's time to hire someone. Done is good enough.
Done is better than perfect. That is something that perfectionists have a hard time with. And here's a question. This is just a general question. I introduced this to Paul when we met, and I speak about it quite a bit with coaching clients. And it's this: do you care how it's done, or do you care that it is done?
Right. And that's the brain retrain I've been going through because literally this is my childhood.
Yeah.
You do it yourself. You don't pay someone else to do it. And it was cheaper then to pay someone. I can afford it. It's not, trust me, this is not a financial thing. This is a brain thing.
No, it's definitely a brain thing. And that's the reframe. Our 11-year-old does dishes. Can I tell you that I have a conniption fit when I watch him load the dishwasher? I cannot handle what he is doing. Like, I want to take it personally. Okay. But do I care that it is done? I do, because he's going to do the rest of the dishes anyway. Do I care how long it takes him? I don't, as long as the dishes are clean. The recovering part of me cared how it was done. And I had to walk myself back from that because I want this child to be responsible. I also want him to be autonomous and be able to do things on his own. And here we go. Like, can I have a conniption fit? Yeah, but I got to coach myself down from this scenario. Like, we're just talking about loading the dishwasher.
To consider. Is doing it correctly more of a value than raising self-sustaining kids for you?
I'll take that further. Correctly is subjective.
Yes, it is. But you're correctly.
This is my ego speaking, right? Of course, I'm doing it the right way. It's worked for me my whole life this way, and everything's been fine. So my way is the right way. And so that's another retraining of the brain. This was big in my house. If you want it done right, well, that meant mom's way. That didn't mean dad's way or my way. We have to even reframe what that looks like. What is right, really?
There's a lot of right ways to do it. There's a lot of correct ways to do it. But again, it's the value.
That's the how it's done or that it's done. That's where that reframe helps us quite a bit.
So important. Now, we want you to circle what drains you most, not what you wish didn't drain you, what actually does drain you. And why? The late night texts, decision-making, managing other people's emotions, being on at work all day. This isn't a weakness. This is data. Your brain is handing you a map that says, here is where your battery leaks, that neural battery. Most of us has been trying to fix ourselves when what we really need to do is redesign the load.
Ooh.
Yeah, we've asked one human to be a whole village and then acted surprised when the human got tired. So the question isn't how do I toughen up? It's how do I stop living like 10 people in one body? The goal isn't to become superhuman. It's to build a life that fits a human nervous system, not defeats one. You know what I love about that reframe is it's like money. When people say, I need to make more money, let's talk about how you're spending it first before we talk about how you're making. So now you're saying, talk about how you're spending your energy and then figuring out how to make more. But how is it first depleting?
I like what you said there too, is we've asked one person to be the entire village. If you recall, and again, this was when we were young, families had help. Families had other families to do stuff with. Hey, I can't get to that kid. Can you pick them up? Yeah, I got you. There were tribes a long, long time ago. Now we just think we're supposed to do the things that the village used to do on our own. You cannot do 10 things at once. And we just decided that, oh, that's silly. I can. And now here's depletion.
I have so many takeaways from this conversation.
Give them to me.
So many. Task switching. I love having the knowledge of what that word is. It's like the switch. You realize, like, if you sit there with a light all day long and you just keep going like this, that light's going to wear out a whole lot faster than if you were just leaving it on or off. Effort, rest, and connection. I'm curious what the percentages are. I know we have our 8 hours at night of sleep. If we're getting our sleep is part of rest. What other rest do we need? And how much connection does a human actually need to function at the highest level? I'm very curious about that now.
Yes.
Yeah, this is amazing because we can rest while we're awake. And again, quality of connection and quality of rest, just like the quality of the effort, of course. Thank you, but no thank you. Trauma, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's enough.
You're right in what you said earlier. We love to name things, but most people are like, I don't want to know. But that just is the push through. That's not helping in any way, shape, or form. It's like a bittersweet thing. You're like, oh, bummer, but also cool. I get to do something about it.
It's power, though.
Yes, it's so powerful. One of my takeaways is, me and my 4 agreements, like these unwritten rules, that's most of the people I work with are high functioning individuals. They come to me and they're like, I'm stuck. And it's really frustrating because I'm not used to being stuck. I'm used to going and doing and moving. And why are we stuck? And usually it's because an agreement that we've made inside of ourselves no longer serves us. So when I ask the question, what unwritten rules have I been living by? Those are the things that are getting us stuck. There's so much judgment of ourselves for literally just being human, waking up one day and going, oh, I'm human. I'm depleted. Oh yeah. What did you think was going to happen?
That's where the knowledge is power. When you talk about the knowledge, it might sting for a moment. Like, think about what's the worst weather you don't like. If you're somebody who goes, well, I don't like it when it rains, or I don't like it when it's over 100 degrees or whatever. But here's the thing. If you look at the weather app and it says it's going to be over 100 degrees, go hang out at a pool all day long. You solved the problem. You move forward with a solution. It's just information. It may not be the news you wanted to hear, but now you have the information to go out. It's going to be cold. I don't personally like cold, but guess what? Then I know wear a coat. Now I can give myself a break when I am exhausted. Okay. I'm neurally depleted.
Yeah. I think the biggest takeaway, and I love that we have a name for it, is that you don't have to live like this. Everything that you and I talked about, I know people off the top of my head that I can name that live this regularly. Point is, you don't have to. If it doesn't feel good, you get to not do that. And if we grew up watching people be neurally depleted because they didn't know what to name it, they just crushed through everything and suffered miserably alone. And you go, oh, I guess that's what life looks like. But for some reason, you're like, could it be different? Yes, it can be different. And I think that's my biggest takeaway here is it doesn't have to look like it looks for everybody else for you. That's why we give you the signs. That's why we're like, hey, pay attention to how you're feeling. If it doesn't feel good, it can be different. And we would like to help you through that, to the different, if that's what you would like.
And if you know what it is, you don't have to give yourself crap about it.
Yeah, that judgment can go away.
Which will help with your neural depletion. So there you go. That's the first thing.
Okay, I think this is a great introduction. I'm glad that we're doing 3 parts on this.
Yes, this is going to be fun. All right, let's go into our questions.
Okay.
You want to go first?
I do.
I know.
I'm so interested in you, Nicole. I just can't wait to.
Okay.
Okay, this question is, what is your go-to guilty pleasure song.
Go-to guilty pleasure song. Okay. I would go with Alanis Morissette, and I would probably go with, so she has a song that was on one of her albums. This was back when we actually had CDs.
Uh-huh.
And you would play the CD and you had to let the song that was playing finish and then dead air for 2 minutes, and then another song would start.
Okay.
And she now has like versions of it. And it's funny because she says, I found your records and listened to your Joni. Now she says, I found your Spotify. So that was pretty cute. She updated it. But it's this song that I love. And when I hear it, I sing it really loud. And it's just kind of this story of her going into this guy's house, and it's a guy she's dating, and she goes in and she's smelling his sheets and taking a shower and doing all these things. And she finds a letter from another woman. And then it's about her crying in the house. But her ability with words is fantastic. I would say I have a lot of different songs that are my pleasure songs, but that's like my guilty pleasure song. Like, I'm going to be singing really loud.
Okay, I'm going to go find it and listen to it now.
Yes. I can't remember the name of it. Found your CDs. That's what she says. I found your CDs and I played your Joni. And Joni Mitchell is somebody who my husband absolutely loves. He introduced me to Joni Mitchell. So there's a history there too.
Aww.
Although I've never cried over him because he's never done that to me.
Good, because I got something for you, Tim.
I don't think you have to worry about that. All right. My question for you is, what's the funnest place you've ever danced? Now think of on a table, in the rain, something fun.
Okay. I graduated high school in 1999. So I had early 2000s club music. Yeah, we would go there. But none of those were the most fun place I've ever danced. The most fun place I've ever danced is downstairs in our little room next to the pool with all of my family. And we have our like dance parties. And I will sit, and I'm going to tear up because this is so important to me. I did not know that this would be the most fun place I've ever danced. We let the kids just play whatever they want, and we just get up and move. And it's because we're all together and just watching them, watching Paul. It is my favorite place to be in those moments. And I love moving with my children. I love acting silly with them. It's just such joyous moments. And we've danced other places, but there's something about like just being in our house together and just having fun and being silly. That's the funnest for me. Yeah. Aww. And I mean, I've danced in many a place, but the funnest when I look back on my whole life are those times.
That's it.
Yeah.
I love that. I once read about a family, and they had a rule: if anybody in the family dances, they're not allowed to dance alone.
Aww.
So you have to dance. I wish I'd raised my kids like that. If I dance, you just have to stand up and start dancing. I think that's such a cool thing because dance is so expressive and fun.
It is.
And even if you're a horrible dancer.
I grew up not dancing at all. The Jen you see in front of you is not the Jen that grew up. I was like, I did not want to be seen. Not because I didn't have rhythm. I've always had rhythm, but I didn't want people looking at me. I was always so embarrassed of myself, I guess. I didn't want to be seen. I wouldn't walk anywhere on public streets. I didn't want people to see me. And that's tough in a 6-foot body. But I never danced. I didn't go to school dances. I was just so embarrassed as a human, and I couldn't tell you why I'm not like that anymore. And that maybe contributes to why we dance as a family. It's such a 180 from how I grew up and who I was. And I just knew that I didn't want my kids to ever feel that way. That must contribute to why it's like the funnest thing that I can do. Because when I was in college, it was alcohol induced. I would be dancing and that doesn't exist for me anymore. Yeah, it's just the opposite of how I grew up. I love that family has that because I never did.
I've incorporated that with my grandkids.
There you go.
If I dance, you're dancing. Let's dance.
I do it. My kids will even ask me, Mom, you want to dance with me? Yes is always the answer.
Yes.
You have to say yes if your kids ask you to dance.
There you go. Maybe that's it. If anybody in the family asks you to dance, you must say yes.
Yeah.
That's a great rule. I love that. Well, next week we'll talk about coming back online, scheduling as nervous system design, boundaries as intelligence, and how the 4 agreements can graduate from Jen's daily TED Talk into actual life tools.
They are life tools.
They are. Neural depletion is real and not your fault. Had to poke a little fun at you. Productivity improves when your brain isn't in survival mode. You didn't get weaker. The current got stronger. Share this with someone who thinks they just need more grit because you know better. Next week, the toolbox. We'll see you then. Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Write your lines with passion, let your spirit freely roam. The lessons of your journey will lead you safely home.